You're listening to The Weekend Take. And now your host, Sean Schaefer.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of The Weekend Take. I'm your host, Sean Schaefer, and joining me this week is actor, producer, comedian, and founder of the Easterseals Disability Film Challenge, Nic Novicki. Nic, how you doing?
Hey, good. How are you?
Oh, good. Glad to get you on the show finally. I know we've been trying to connect for a bit, but it seems every time I reach out, you're a busy man.
Yeah.
Not only on the screen, but with the Easterseals Disability Film Challenge, which we're hoping to learn more about here as there's a deadline fast approaching.
There is. So this year is the 7th annual Easterseals Disability Film Challenge, and that is happening over the course of the weekend of April 3rd through April 5th, where participants will be taking part in the film challenge from all over the world. Each film has to have somebody with a disability in front of or behind the camera. You have between now and March 31st to sign up because you need to register in order to take part in the film challenge. So if you go to disabilityfilmchallenge.com, you can register, take part in it. And throughout this podcast, I'm going to tell you more about what the film challenge is, why I started it, and just so excited. I know, as such a talented DP yourself, I know you must have so many great people that work behind the camera that listen and are part of your community.
We have a very supportive fan base, and a lot of them are in the industry. So definitely we're going to get to that aspect of it. But when we get to it, and even now, I want to encourage anybody listening, if you ever had the itch to create and express yourself artistically through the medium of film, there is no better cause to do it than the Easterseals Disability Film Challenge. So, but Nic, we're gonna get to that in a moment. First, let's talk about you. Tell us a bit more about yourself and your journey to this point.
My background is I've really been in entertainment since I was a kid. I started out doing motivational speaking for Little People of America, and I would do speeches at Rotary clubs, but I would always try to figure out how to make them funny. I would open up with a joke. For those of you that can't see me because we're a podcast, I'm a little person, so I'm 3'10". So I've always been short, and being a little person, I've always kind of used that to my advantage to break the ice. So when I would do these motivational speakings, I would always open with like a joke of like, I bet you can't see me behind the podium, and figure out how to break the ice and win over the room. So I started doing stand-up comedy pretty soon after and never looked back. I went to business school, but took a hard left and did stand-up and acting full-time right out of college. And pretty early in my career, I realized that I was going to have to take charge of my career and learn how to write, produce, create my own content because I'm 3'10". So I realized that if I was going to play the kind of roles that I wanted to play, I was going to have to create them, write them, and really take charge of all aspects of my career. And I got really lucky. I got to be honest. I think acting is a really tough profession no matter what. But when you're a little person or you have a disability, it's even harder. To date, I've been in over 40 TV shows and movies, got to work with Martin Scorsese, the Farrelly Brothers. I was on Sopranos, which led to Boardwalk Empire, so really it was kind of a domino effect. But a lot of my work has come from me writing, creating, and producing my own content. That's really been my mantra for my career, to really be in charge of my career and try to make my own work and be involved in every aspect I can.
One of the things that I learned, growing up, or at least that my mom would always tell me, because in school I got picked on and bullied and things like that. And my mom always said, listen, the best thing you can do to disarm a bully is to call the attention to what they're going to pick on you about.
Absolutely.
And the best way to do that is with a joke. Did you face a lot of that growing up as a kid? I mean, was there a lot of bullying or tormenting growing up?
I gotta be honest, there wasn't a lot. And I think the reason why is I was always really good at winning over my classmates and kids in the school. It would almost be like the reverse situation because I got so good at kind of joking with people and being quick on my feet, and some of it being, making fun of myself, but also kind of working the room, that I wasn't the easiest target, because ultimately I would fight back, and not in a mean way, but just trying to kind of win people over. Plus, I got to be honest, I always was good at picking the biggest and toughest friends to kind of hang with. So I was always in a good spot. That definitely was the root, I think, for why I got into comedy early. It just was a bit of like an instinct, just as your mom said. Honestly, my mom never said that to me. I just kind of figured that out through the School of Hard Knocks. I would just make jokes, and luckily no one ever really bothered me that much. I mean, I heard comments too, but I've always had kind of like a selective memory in terms of hearing what people say. And if somebody says something that I don't like, I just almost pretend I don't hear it, and I just move on to the next thing. I've really always tried to have an attitude of just do the best I can do and don't worry about other people.
So, you finished up school. You said that you'd initially gone to college to study business, was it?
Yeah, I did. So I went to business school, and I actually graduated. So I went to school for marketing and entrepreneurship. But the whole time I was in school, I was doing stand up comedy every night. I went to Temple University in Philadelphia, but I'd be taking the train back and forth to New York. I'd be studying on the train, sometimes even sleeping in Penn Station at times because I'd missed the last train. I got really into stand up. I mean, it was a passion, really more than a passion. I was getting paid work starting my first year and kind of touring around. But ultimately, I stayed in school. I got a scholarship there, so I wanted to take advantage of that opportunity. And I learned a lot and had a lot of great friends. But ultimately, decided that I was gonna, instead of taking like a finance job or something a little more on the stable side, I was like, let's just follow my dreams and do stand up comedy, aka live with four people in a 2-bedroom apartment in Queens. But it was like the best time of my life. I was literally living in a living room in Astoria that was like fenced off with sheets. It was kind of during that time that I was really like, look, I had no money. I'm living in a living room, and all I'm focused on is doing stand up every night, trying to get as good as I can as an actor. And almost right away, I booked a role on The Sopranos, and that's right out of school. And that show, now I'm dating myself a bit because it's ended its run almost 15 years ago. But being on that show, it was just such in the zeitgeist. When you were on The Sopranos at that time, it was a really big deal. So, when I booked that role, I was like, oh man, I made it now. I just turned 23. I'm on The Sopranos. Right from this, I'm going to be, a star of a new TV show. And it was a huge opportunity. But from that point on, all of a sudden, there wasn't that much work. So that's when I kind of was like, look, I got to be writing and producing and creating my own stuff. As a comedian, I kind of already knew how to just not wait for the industry to tell me I'm ready, but to just get up on stage. So I took that same philosophy and started doing like web series.
Definitely admirable trait for sure, Nick. The kind of like take charge and not waiting for opportunity to knock, but rather to create your own.
I kind of feel like that's the only way in the industry. I mean, sometimes you can hear these crazy lottery stories from people that are like, yeah, I never acted before. And all of a sudden I met this guy, and, next time I'm in this movie. But I mean, for me, it's not just me as a little person or, so many of the people I know. I mean, just grinded it out for so long and just worked so hard. I think that's the interesting thing about the industry. There's a perception that it's all just going to work out. It's possible, but it usually is just such a marathon before you get there.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that I've met. I haven't been doing this 17 years or so, but a lot of people I've encountered that just think that by their mere presence they are entitled to stardom and fame, and that's not the case.
You know what I think though? It's interesting because now I've been in the entertainment industry 20 years, but I think that there is a bit of a stigma that happens certainly in the film school route where kids are like, well, I don't know if that's for me. I got to focus on, this other thing. And it just takes time for certain people. And everyone's on their own journey as an artist in terms of finding out where they are. And I think that's okay. Some people, it just takes them a while to realize, like, hey, I just got to do the work. There's no shortcuts. Some people will learn that right away, year one in their career, and others it may take them year 10 or 15.
23 years old, you got booked on The Sopranos. How did start off there? Was it an audition that you went on? Did someone see you, or did someone see you at a stand up show, or how did that come about?
So The Sopranos was just the traditional route. That was I have an agent. The agent calls me in for an audition. I go into that audition. I got to say, I dressed the part. It was to play a nightclub manager, and I prepared. And, I came in with my suit on, and I'm all excited. And I do the audition, and I end up getting the part. That was pretty awesome. That was definitely one of those calls that you get that just you never forget that you booked that role for a show that not only I watch but my parents watched every week. Which is just kind of such a neat thing. To be honest, the majority of my career has not been the traditional realm like that, where I'm just getting a call from my agent. I go in, and my agents and my representatives work really hard for me, and I do get opportunities like that. I was on The Sopranos, and then they already knew me, so I worked on Boardwalk Empire. Or I was already had a relationship with the Farrelly brothers, and then they had seen my reel, which included work I'd already done. There really is a step-by-step process. Frankly, if you're listening and you're wondering how to get started, it is so much about taking those first steps. The Sopranos was definitely a major first step in terms of having that reel to be on The Sopranos, and that was just a big step forward. But there were so many other things that I did myself, because I did have that clip of me in The Sopranos, which was awesome for my reel. But I realized that I needed more, love interest. So I created like a web series where I was going to be like the romantic lead. And mind you, in the studio system, there's no one, writing roles for a 3'10", 23-year-old little person to be in a love story, at least at that time. I'm 37 now, so times have changed a bit, but that was kind of my I took The Sopranos, and my first thing that I did after myself was a web series called Urban Guardian. And that was a web series where I basically tried to pretend like I was a superhero even though I had no powers. I just kind of wanted to like dress up like a Spider-Man just to try to get chicks. Nothing ever worked out. And so it's like, we had a great little theme song, and, I'd be trying to like save the day, but I had no powers. Fun project.
And that was actually going to lead into my next question. So, one of the things that a lot of actors face when they start making their way through films, through Hollywood, through the process is the idea of typecasting. And I have to imagine with being a little person, like it's hard when going to an audition because, like you said, in the studio system, they're not writing these romantic lead parts for someone that's a little person. So creating your own material was also again a great way of making your own opportunities by having something to then show that you are versatile, that you can play other parts. But do you think that's been an effective method to fight against the idea of typecasting, especially for you?
Absolutely. And I would say that it's not just little people that are typecast. Everybody's typecast. If you're overweight, if you're an attractive woman, if the system does kind of put people in boxes. And specifically, there are castings that are looking for a very quote unquote type of actor. And there's a breakdown where it'll be like looking for African American little person from 20 to 30 that is, casting breakdowns are very specific. And I will give casting directors credit. They have really opened up the doors to be like, we're open to all ethnicities. We're open to seeing actors with disabilities. We're fully inclusive. It's changing very much so for the better. But ultimately, casting directors are their job is to bring in actors that fit the role to the best that they can determine. And that's off the page. They'll create the breakdown based off what they see. So, a lot of this stems from the writing room. A lot of making an inclusive film and TV, it all starts and ends with the writing. And I think that that's always been the way to move the needle forward and to include more people with disabilities, and really include yourself as an artist to break that typecast is when you're a part of the writing process. and you're a part of the producing process. Because even if you write it a certain way, if you're the producer or you're involved in the producing, you could say, yeah, I know that was written for like a 6 foot white guy, but why can't it be 3'10" African American actor? You can say it would be just interesting. We don't have to change the writing. Let's just do it this way. So I think that's always the best way to break that typecast. But for me, certainly, I got to be honest. Yeah, I was typecast. I got a lot of opportunities to work with Santa, and I've taken some of those opportunities, which were great experiences. And ultimately, for myself, I have a barrier where I don't do anything that I find offensive. I've turned down a lot of roles, some really big opportunities, just because I wasn't comfortable with the way that character was portrayed. And for me, one of the main tools that I always use is I want to be involved in the joke. I don't want to be the joke. So I need to be in on it. And as long as that there's a way where, I'm able to kind of show that I'm a three-dimensional character, then all's fair in love and war, that's the kind of role I want to play. But there are certain things that I just turn down.
You're listening to The Weekend Take. Visit our Patreon page to become a patron of The Weekend Take, and for as little as $1, you'll receive exclusive content and perks.
So, for instance, my, I guess, introduction to you on screen was I was a fan of Boardwalk Empire. One of the things that I liked about your character on Boardwalk Empire was that you were the one that was giving Nucky crap because he wanted to make a joke or a mockery out of you and your friends.
Absolutely.
I think if I remember the episode, you're like, "What is it this week, Nucky?" One week we're leprechauns, and the next week, or then Christmas you always have us as elves, and I think you were arguing primarily about the pay because he was trying to cut down on the pay for you and the group in this one of the scenes that I remember. But so that's more of the strength of the character that is probably in the roles that I imagine you're looking for if you're playing to the type of character as a little person. But I mean,
The thing is that I am a little person. So I don't want to avoid addressing that I am a little person. And specific to Boardwalk Empire, this was a time where little people really had a lack of opportunity. So to say that they weren't involved in sideshow gags or other things, and I kind of played sort of like a mafioso boss of little people in that world. But this was a time period where little people were doing this for work, and this was a means for little people to get work, get paid. And really, outside of little people, there was a lot of people that were doing kind of vaudevillian entertainment. It was just a different time then. I never want to avoid addressing that I'm a little person, whether it be my stand-up comedy or me as an actor. It's a part of who I am. My wife's a little person. I'm little. But the thing is we need to make it real. And I think that's what credit to Terrence Winter and all the writers and producers from Boardwalk Empire. They really brought out the humanity in my life as a little person, in what I wanted, and they let me be funny. They let me be kind of a ball buster. I'm busting Steve Buscemi's balls, and I'm like, yeah, give us a little more money. Yeah, yeah. I'm in on the joke. There was one scene where he says, hey, can I borrow a few bucks? And I'd say, I'd like to, but I'm a little short.
yeah.
He says a joke to me, and I'm joking back, and I'm involving myself, but I'm throwing it back to him. So rather than me just being a put down, I'm winning over the crowd through comedy.
Yeah. I mean, that was one of the things as a fan of the show, that I particularly liked about your character. And so with HBO, and you were saying that, now casting directors, thankfully, they're opening it up more. I mean, one of the biggest examples that people come upon is Peter Dinklage being in Game of Thrones. Unfortunately, I haven't read the books, but I don't think that his character in the books is described as being a little person. But the fact that they had the casting open like that, I think shows progression, at least on HBO's part.
That character was just such a great role written by George R. R. Martin for a little person in that lead, kind of the real kind of boss of the show. But I will credit HBO because there are other networks, there are other studios that sometimes will CGI somebody who doesn't have that disability because they're nervous. They saw the talent of Peter Dinklage and put him in that role, and I think honestly they made the role bigger, and they really they credited Peter's amazing tour de force performance by giving him top of show billing.
Our first meeting was we actually worked together on a pilot.
Yeah.
It's been about 3 years now, I think, right?
Yeah, it is crazy how time has just flown by. It has been 3 years.
Yeah, but that was a great experience. And it was there when we started the conversation talking about the Easterseals Disability Film Challenge. The part that's so tough is that it always comes right on the cusp of when the season picks up. So I never get to actually participate. And it's something I kick myself for every year. But maybe this year will be different. Speaking of the Disability Film Challenge, what was the impetus for it? Like, what was the spark that made you want to create it?
As I said, really a lot of the opportunities that I've had in my career have come from me writing, producing, and already being a part of the process. Now, the percentages of people with disabilities in the US, there's 61 million Americans with disabilities. That's 1 in 4 Americans have some form of disability, according to a study from the CDC. We're less than 2% represented in front of the camera. I would say far less than 1% behind the camera. I looked around 7.5 years ago and I was like, why aren't more people with disabilities creating their own work? It's led to a lot of opportunities for me. So I feel like other people should be writing, shooting, producing, creating their own content. Let themselves be the romantic lead, be the bank robber, the gangster, the jerk, whatever they want to be. So I created this weekend film competition, which over the course of a weekend has somebody with a disability in front of or behind the camera. And I thought it was honestly just be a one-time event to do over the course of one weekend. And I just wanted to get a couple people that I know to create their own work and to sort of widen the lens of people they worked with. Then the film challenge happened that weekend, and it was just such a hit. Even though we only had about 5 films that were created that first challenge, everybody loved it. And the people with disabilities from all over the world that watched those films kept emailing me and asking me when the next challenge was going to be. So I was like, wait a minute. All right, well, why don't I do it again? And I got to give a big credit to Dell, who gave computers that first year for prizes, and to Holly Shorts Film Festival, which is an Academy Award qualifying festival that screens their films in the Chinese theater, for screening our winners. SAG-AFTRA for allowing us to use SAG-AFTRA talent without any upfront fees, because we were able to use professional talent, have those prizes and incentives for that first challenge. And then by year 2, I was like, let's just keep going. I want to do it again. And then I was able to ask Peter Farrelly, who is somebody that I've known for a bit through the industry, who directed and wrote something about Mary, Dumb and Dumber, recent Green Book that won last year's Oscar. So I asked him, and then it really started to take off. I got a lot more submissions. The films got better and better for year 2. Year 3, more submissions. And then for year 4, I partnered with Easterseals. Now, Easterseals is the nation's largest disability services organization. They just celebrated their 100th year anniversary, and they're committed to changing the way the world defines and views disabilities, and ultimately making the world a more inclusive place. So partnering with Easterseals really kind of helped us take it to the next level. Now we're sponsored by HBO, Universal Pictures, Sony, CBS Entertainment Diversity and Inclusion, Hollywood Reporter. We're collaborative partners with the Sundance Institute. We have Adobe as a sponsor, SAG-AFTRA. So really, it's just been creating more and more opportunities. But ultimately, the biggest thing it's doing is it's giving people with disabilities a chance to be a part of the filmmaking process. We have so many first-time writers, directors, actors, and producers with and without disabilities that enter the film challenge. But now, thanks to our SAG-AFTRA agreement, we also have Oscar winners and Emmy winners that take part in the film challenge. So it's really such a wide variety. Last year, we had 71 films
Wow.
made for the film challenge. Some of these films have screened at hundreds of film festivals. There was a film that was done actually in our second film challenge called Bumblebees, and that screened at over 200 festivals around the world. It was a film that was directed by a really talented filmmaker out of Atlanta named Jenna Cannell, and her brother is autistic and has a couple other invisible disabilities, and she made the film starring her brother, and she actually did a TED talk about the experience, how making this film and working with her brother allowed her to connect in a way that she had never connected before with her brother. The TED talk kind of went viral. She's taught about the experience of making this film and how the process has connected her to her brother at Harvard, at MIT, at amazing schools and film festivals all over the world. So it's really making an impact. So many of our partners and studios are reaching out to us all year round and asking us for referrals for talent. They want to bring in for auditions specific talent. And I would go back to an example, bringing up Peter Farrelly again. Last year, he reached out to us and said, "Hey, do you have any ideas for a little person actress? We have this major recurring role. Do you know of anybody?" And we were able to send him 10 films that had starring roles, three-dimensional characters for little people actresses. He auditioned all those actresses, and ultimately this major recurring role went to Sophia Cheyenne, who is a little person actress based in New York that has been a theater actress working hard to try to create opportunities, but ultimately has never been able to break into film and TV. And through her taking part in the 2018 Easterseals Disability Film Challenge, she's now just recurred for her second year on the Farrelly Brothers show Loudermilk.
Wow. It really is just an amazing all around opportunity, not only for everyone involved, but obviously it has to be very satisfying, fulfilling for you to have this just outpouring of support. So the weekend film challenge, all the efforts that it takes to make it happen takes far more than a weekend. So
Yeah.
what basically is kind of the timeline of your year that ultimately results in the Easterseals Disability Film Challenge weekend?
You know, it's really crazy. I mean, this is a weekend film competition, but I work all year round on this. So we launched the film challenge at Sundance Film Festival. This year, Kareem Ahmad, who is the director of outreach and inclusion at the Sundance Institute, co-announced the film challenge with me and new exciting elements. The Sundance Institute actually hosts all finalists the day after our Sony hosted award ceremony, which is going to be on May 7th this year. So Sundance actually hosts the day after all finalists to learn about all the opportunities, to also get to know each of these talented filmmakers and participants from all over the country. So, in terms of the calendar, really, it's a full year calendar. This is a weekend film competition, but starting late January, we announced the film challenge. Participants need to register. So, if you're listening and you're interested in this, you'll actually need to sign up, and you can go to disabilityfilmchallenge.com to learn all the steps, to read the rules, to find out how to register. And then everyone that's registered before March 31st, anyone that's registered from around the world, will email you the assignment. Last year was sci-fi, and certain themes that need to be incorporated with sci-fi, and locations to choose from, so that we know this was done over the course of a weekend. So you have a couple extra days to write and kind of work on your producing. And then on Friday, April 3rd, we'll email you that final piece of the assignment. And that's a couple of props that need to be included so that we know that those films are done over the course of a weekend. And then you'll have the weekend to finish your film and send us a downloadable link so that we can upload all those films to our Facebook, our YouTube, and our Instagram channels so that you can compete in our awareness campaign. And that happens the following weekend. So, really, you'll have another 8 days to try to get as many likes, views, and shares. And then our judges are going to tally who gets nominated for finalists in our best film, best director. This year, we opened up a new category, which is best screenplay, and best actor, and our best awareness competition, which is who gets the most likes, shares, views, and ultimately press and awareness for their film. So then we have our award ceremony, which is May 7th, and then we're done for our actual season. So really from January through March 31st, we're getting people to sign up for the film challenge. And then we're figuring out who's going to win. And then we have our award ceremony May 7th. But then we actually have film festivals that we do screenings at throughout the rest of the year. This year, New Filmmakers LA, which is a great film festival that does amazing work throughout the year, they are gonna screen our films on May 2nd, which is the Saturday, our finalists for the first time. Then May 7th, we'll screen and announce our winners. But then we have our screenings of our winners at Holly Shorts Film Festival in August, an Academy Award qualifying festival, as well as Heartland Film Festival in Indianapolis in October. And we do screenings and workshops throughout the year. We did voiceover training workshops, teaching people with disabilities voiceover skills. We've done editing workshops. We've done producing workshops. Really, throughout the year, we're doing all kinds of events and activations. So, even if you're not able to participate, we highly encourage everyone to follow us on our social channels where we let you know about some of the exciting opportunities that we have throughout the year, because really this is a network. It's become almost a family of people that take part in the film challenge. And the best thing about it is it's not just for people with disabilities. This is about inclusion. We encourage you to have somebody in front of and behind the camera and as many people with disabilities as you can on your project, but you only need one person with a disability in front of or behind the camera, because ultimately that work leads to work. But if you're not part of the process at all and you haven't done any work, then you're never going to get your next job. So we want people to really get involved. We're asking all those talented veteran cinematographers and editors and crew members that are listening to really try to get involved. This is a volunteer driven initiative. Nobody can get paid. There are kit fees that people could give if need be. You needed to rent a certain kind of piece of equipment, but this is a way to get a film done for no cost, really, and for a good reason. And we do it in a way that respects our talented crew. We do it in a shortened time period. You can't spend weeks making your film. This is a weekend because we don't give you that final piece of the assignment, which is those props, until that Friday. If you're a cinematographer, if you're an editor, you really can't spend more than one day taking part in this film challenge. There's really no better opportunity to really involve people with disabilities and honestly to get a lot of opportunities yourself. When I talked about some of our sponsors, HBO, Warner Brothers, CBS Entertainment Diversity and Inclusion, Sony Pictures Entertainment. I mean, these are huge studios that are watching these films. It's an opportunity for everybody. And I also want to point out that these films don't have to be about disability. In fact, we encourage filmmakers to make a film that doesn't really talk about disability, just includes people with disability.
You're listening to The Weekend Take. Visit our Patreon page to become a patron of The Weekend Take, and for as little as $1, you'll receive exclusive content and perks.
So, Nick, what for you has been, I guess, the most rewarding aspect of running this film challenge?
You know, the most rewarding thing every year is when I see all those films come in. And it's the same assignment, but everybody has their own interpretation and they really just put so much into these films. I just can't tell you what that feeling is like to see all these films and to see all this just added inclusion into the entertainment sphere and to see funny and beautiful and just awesome and edgy films. And there's so many different interpretations, and that to me is just the most rewarding thing when I see all these great films. And then beyond that, when I see people getting great opportunities and continuing to piggyback off their film challenge and their team to just keep going and make an independent film together or web series. We have so many success stories, and I encourage you all to go to disabilityfilmchallenge.com, hit the challenge tab, and that'll bring you to past assignments, which will show you each of the winning films and our past assignments, our success stories. And I'm just so proud of everybody that's a part of the film challenge, but I can't take all the credit. I got to first and foremost give all the credit to our talented participants And there's so many people that just promote and work so hard behind the scenes to make the film challenge such an amazing event every year. I gotta first and foremost give all the credit to my partners, Easterseals Southern California. I'm on the board of directors of Easterseals, and so many people work so hard all year round for Easterseals, promoting the films, really creating more opportunities. And I'm just proud to be a part of Easterseals as a whole outside of the film challenge that does so much great work for people with disabilities outside of the entertainment industry.
Do you see a lot of repeat contributors? So you do see a lot of people who come back and enter every year?
It is crazy. I mean, we get almost everybody. It's pretty rare, honestly. Once people enter the film challenge, we see them every year. Whether sometimes they're not coming back as a director, sometimes we're like, I just want to act this year. I just want to write. But year after year, we get the same people. For a lot of people, it's the only film they make a year, but for others, they are turning that into feature films. They're really springboarding into other opportunities. Rachel Handler, who is a really talented film challenge participant, she won our first ever Best Actor award. She made a film in 2018 that was nominated for Best Film, and she submitted that to the AT&T Film Awards, and it actually won the Underrepresented Award, which came with a $5,000 grant and screened with Tribeca and all these other amazing opportunities. So that's just so cool to see that our film challenge participants that just keep taking part every year, and our judges stay on year after year, and it's just been so awesome.
We've mentioned a couple of times now the deadline is fast approaching, March 31st, right?
Yeah, March 31st. Register today. And I always say, a lot of times people are like, well, I don't know, somebody with a disability, if they're a filmmaker. I guarantee you, we're doing meetup events all around the country. We have so many talented actors with disabilities that they can't get on a team right now because we just have so many talented people, and maybe there's 6 actors joining one team now because they want to make sure to be a part of it. I really challenge everyone. If you were to go on your Facebook account and post and say, hey, I registered for the Easterseals Disability Film Challenge, it's an amazing opportunity, but I'm looking for somebody with a disability. Does anybody know anyone? I guarantee you're going to have multiple people on your own network that are going to be like, hey, I have a disability, or, Steve, or they'll tag other people. So everyone knows somebody with a disability. It's 1 in 4 Americans. There's really no excuse. I say sign up, register. And the first step is the hardest step, and that's registering or putting yourself out there to say, I want to be a part of this. And I guarantee you'll find somebody else. But it's just really opening up yourself to put yourself out there. And I think that's a huge step forward in this process of including people with disabilities. If you've got questions, you could email us, info@Disability Film Challenge, and we're happy to answer any questions. And we hope you also come to meetup events and just learn more about what we're doing.
I know with everything that encompasses the film challenge that your calendar is you said it's an all year thing to not only put together the film challenge but all the events that follow. What else here in 2020 is on the horizon for you?
I'm still a working artist. I'm writing, I'm producing, I'm acting. I just guest starred on the Good Doctor, which will air March 9th. And I think this is going to come out maybe a couple days after. So anyone can see that online. I don't know. I think it streams on Hulu after, or ABC. So that was just an amazing experience. I just worked on it 2 weeks ago in Vancouver. I did a movie in the fall. So I'm constantly working and writing and producing and doing everything I can. I actually just wrote a script. Well, I wrote a script years ago, but it made the disability list for the blacklist. And that project is about Billy Barty, who was really a hero to me. He created Little People of America. So you could learn about that if you go to nicnovicki.com. I'm a working artist. I'm still doing stand-up all the time on the road. I've been opening for Nate Bargatze on his theater tour all over America, as well as doing dates myself. As much work as I'm doing with the film challenge, a lot of times I'm responding to people honestly 7 days a week. It's my passion. It's what I love to do. I'm I'm creating promos on set. I mean, you even saw me doing promos when we were filming together with the cast. And I think you even helped me do a little promo on the set where I had kind of like signs and all kinds of different things. There's a lot of opportunities for me to continue to move forward in my career, but this is something that I've never really been prouder to be a part of. Honestly, the film challenge is just something that I feel is really making an impact. A lot of people talk about the need for more inclusion and that there is a problem with a lack of opportunities for people with disabilities. I think the Easterseals Disability Film Challenge is a tangible solution to create those opportunities, because you can't just talk about the problem. You have to be a part of the solution. You have to actually make a film, be a part of a film. And in turn, you're opening up the lens to continue to work with other people, and you're making the world a more inclusive place by just making cool films.
No, I wholeheartedly agree, and it is tremendous what you're doing, Nick, with this Easter Seals Disability Film Challenge for sure. I mean, the first one you did was such a surprise, but I mean, did you ever think after that first one, or even going into the second one, that the film challenge would have grown to be as big as it is?
Honestly, I never would have thought it would have gotten as big as it is. I mean, we've been covered in CNN, Variety, Hollywood Reporter. During the awareness campaign, our participants have been featured in so many local newspapers, TV stations. I never honestly would have thought that our award ceremony would be at a major studio every year, that we are going to have some of the biggest people involved in the entertainment industry, the Farrelly Brothers, Phil Lord, Chris Miller, the producer of Crazy Rich Asians, Sean Penotti, Tiffany Smith Anoa'i from CBS Entertainment Diversity and Inclusion, Pam Dixon, who's a major casting director. I mean, all these individuals. I never would have thought that this would have just become such an event that people look forward to every year, and that it would just honestly be making such an impact. As I said, I mean, I'm just so proud of where we've come, and just to be a part of it, honestly.
How does it feel now, looking around in 2020, to see networks and studios and projects in general becoming more inclusive?
Feels great. And I can't take all the credit for that. I think the entertainment industry as a whole has really made a very strong effort to be more inclusive in front of and behind the camera. And people with disabilities were frankly left out of those diversity conversations for a while. So I think with the film challenge, we were just at the right place at the right time, and our film challenge participants were just making such great work that we were sort of becoming undeniable. It feels really good, and I'm just honored to see so many of our film challenge participants working, because that's really what the goal always was, to get these people out there. So when I just turn on the TV and I randomly stumble across a film challenge participant and then find out that the film challenge actually had a part in them being on TV, I can't tell you how good that feels.
I definitely want to thank you for taking the time to talk to us and tell us more about yourself and the film challenge.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. I can't thank you enough. And really having talented people like yourself that have that network of so many great people that work in front of and behind the camera, this is really how we find those people that are able to kind of help somebody with a disability that may be new to the production process, really make their film look like a pro, slick film that can really go to all these other film festivals. So again, I highly encourage you, reach out to us. If you want to be a part of the film challenge, sign up. But even if you want to just play a certain role, reach out to us, because we would love to get you on a team.
Following up from that, before I let you go, one more time, kind of get all the information in one place. When's the deadline? How do we sign up? And also, if listeners want to follow you or the film challenge through social media, how can they do all of these things?
Great question. In order to take part in the Easter Seals Disability Film Challenge, let me give you 4 steps that'll make it really easy. Step 1, register by March 31st at disabilityfilmchallenge.com. If you want to create your own film, you'll assemble your team, and you just have to have one person with a disability. That could be a writer, producer, director, cinematographer, actor, editor. Now, step 3 is really make your film over the course of that weekend. And keep in mind, you'll have a couple extra days from March 31st to April 3rd to write and finalize your locations and your team and your casting. But then April 3rd through April 5th, you're going to make your film. Submissions are due by 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on April 5th. You'll send us that downloadable link. And then you're going to market your film over the following weekend, which the marketing campaign ends on April 20th. Winners are announced at our award ceremonies on May 7th at our red carpet ceremony hosted by Sony Picture Studios. So that's the process of actually getting involved in the film challenge. If you want to learn more about it, I highly encourage you to go to disabilityfilmchallenge.com. That has links to our social media. You can follow us at Disability Film Challenge. We're doing workshops, events, screenings around the country all year round. Please reach out to us. Let us know if you have questions about the film challenge. You're looking for disabled talent. You're looking to be a part of the film. And even if you're not wanting to take part in the film challenge, you know what you could do? You can watch the films. You can like the films. You could share the films. So thank you so much. We can't wait to hopefully have you part of our film challenge network and have you part of our family, whether it be following us online, entering the challenge, and or just seeing those films.
And so I highly encourage listeners, please spread the word to, if you tell two friends and they tell two friends and so on, like the line from Wayne's World. But please do that. DisabilityFilmChallenge.com. Learn more about it. Follow at Disability Film Challenge. Really spread the word. This is a tremendous cause. Nic, I'm so happy to have had the time to talk with you and kind of give you this platform to help us spread the word about the film challenge as well.
Well, thanks so much. I can't thank you enough. And I hope we get to work together sometime soon too.
I hope so as well. So listeners, you can also, of course, follow The Weekend Take on social media. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/The Weekend Take. We're on Twitter at Weekend Take. We've finally given in and joined Instagram at The Weekend Take. And be sure to check out our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/The Weekend Take, where for as little as $1 per month, you can become a patron of The Weekend Take and get exclusive extended cuts of episodes in case you want to hear more of the conversation that Nic and I had today or any of our previous guests. You also get early access to episodes, and starting this season, you get Patreon patron exclusive episodes, as well as some other perks and swag, like we have stickers and buttons coming soon, t-shirts and whatnot. But again, that's patreon.com/The Weekend Take. But that about wraps it up for us. So once again, Nic, thank you so very much for taking the time to come on the show.
Well, thank you for having me.
And for all the listeners, I hope you have a great week ahead, and I thank you for tuning in. Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.
You've been listening to The Weekend Take. Be sure to subscribe on iTunes and Google Play and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Visit our Patreon page to become a patron of The Weekend Take. And for as little as $1, you'll receive exclusive content and perks.